Last lockdown I didn't do a lot of adventuring. I spent most of my time doing creative things. I was writing poems and I learned how to paint watercolors. So today I'm just gonna go for a bit of a walk by the river and make something. This is just a stone's throw from my house. I've never actually been down here before. It's kind of cool that you can find these little adventures and little things in your backyard just by doing something that you've never done.
Through the haze, you lay it down each day.
I've got one of my typewriters with me. It's a little manual or portable typewriter. It's got a bit of old ribbon which I'll need to change over once I actually find a spot. I'm just kind of walking at the moment, figuring out where I want to go.
So may every morning find the mercy.
I'm not going to put too much pressure on myself to write anything today. I feel like the best creativity comes when just when it comes. So I'm going to go for a bit of a walk, find a nice spot by the river, make a cup of tea. If I feel inspired, then I'll pull out the typewriter and put something together. You can hear the trees dancing in the wind. It's a pretty windy day here actually. It doesn't usually get that windy in the valley.
I can see your heart beneath the dirt.
Looks like there's a nice little spot just behind me here, but it's guarded by blackberries, so I'm gonna go around and see if I can find another way there.
A needle and a thread to mend the seam. A heartbeat and a brain to plant the seed.
How good this? Cool little spot there. I could also up just up here on the rocks. I've got my tea on. Gonna pull out the typewriter and just start tapping away. I reckon I'll see if anything interesting comes out, and maybe it will, maybe it won't. I've got some old ribbon on this thing, so I'm gonna have to change that over before I start typing. Anyone that was wondering how these typewriters work, you can do basic word processing like you would on a computer. You set the margins, you put your paper in, you type away. When you press a letter, it'll contact a piece of inked ribbon, and that imprints onto the page. When you get to the end of the line, or at the end of your margin, it goes ding, and a little bell goes off to tell you that you're at the end of it. From there, if you got a manual one like this, you've got to physically slide it back to the start. I kind of like that you have to be absolutely present and in the moment when you're typing. I think there's something special about it. It's almost like having a handwritten letter. You can see every little mistake, and every key strike's a little bit different because of how the keys are striking the ribbon. And also, if I make a little mistake, I kind of like the fact that you can see those little human error things, and it's not a polished, perfect piece of machinery. I never actually kept anything until about 5 years ago, when a friend said, hey, maybe one day you'll want to look back on what you've written and maybe one day it'll be useful. So I started keeping things from then. It's only been in the last 2 years that I started sharing things. It feels like kind of a big deal, I think, initially, especially to share things that you've created. The big thing that got me over that was going to a gallery of modern art in Brisbane and just seeing things that I wouldn't have considered to be art. And I had this really profound experience when I left, where I started questioning what art was and seeing the world in a slightly different light. And I realized with any sort of art or anything that you create, It's as much about the person viewing it and perceiving it as it is the person creating it. So, you know, some of those abstract pieces, some people look at and go, wow, he's a genius, and some other things, other people look at and just go, that person's a little loopy, or how's this art? Yeah, it's been really awesome to share, and also to hear that it's been useful or interesting, or it's been able to bring some sort of joy, or help people feel understood and realize that there's other people going through the things that they are as well. I haven't written anything that I'm that excited about sharing today. If you do want to see some of the artistic-y things or some poems that I've written over time, I've got a creative account which is in my bio. It's @usuallyunusable. It's called that because when I first started photography, most of my photos were usually unusable. I'm gonna head up back home. I feel totally recharged just sitting here by the river.